What's up, otakus? It's the night before Thanksgiving, and I hope all of you are at home, just relaxing, preparing for the big feast tomorrow, the big games that are going to be on, um, and just having a relatively chill time. And I just want to thank you. Well, no one's joined yet, but for those of you who take time to watch this video this weekend, thank you. And for those of you who are going to jump in live later, thanks for stopping by. But this is going to be a fun video. I just kind of was getting kind of at that point where it's like, what do I do for content? You know, my collection isn't growing all that much, although I did pick up some really cool books recently. Check out my last video. It's still can't believe we picked those books up for like $10. Just wild. But yeah, you know, I haven't been picking up a lot of volume. Well, I take that back. I did pick up a lot of books at Grit City Comic Show, and this was a great show. It's I think ideal for someone like me because you don't have to take a lot of money. You can take 40, probably take $40, and then with parking and everything else, with the admission and parking, you're paying about $50 now. I didn't. I should have went and got Randy Emberlin's signature. I'm not sure how much he was charging, but I'm sure he was charging. But the thing is, I didn't have many Randy Emberlin books for him to sign. The two books I have are slabbed, and then two books I recently picked up were after the fact that I went here. So, yeah, hopefully, he's back next year because I plan to go next year, and for sure I will get his signature. What was a little disappointing was, I'm sure if this show were a little bit more, had more publicity, more artists might show up. But in terms of the Artist Alley lineup, it was rather unimpressive. But hopefully they build upon, they keep building upon that presence. And next year we get a couple sort of more high profile artists. Because I know a lot of them are in Portland, so it's not like writers and artists are in Portland, so it's not like it'd be a big lift to come up for a day and do a show and meet fans. But we'll see. But hopefully we get some more artists and more writers next year. Now there's a balance because the more notable people you bring in, the more probably the organizers would feel like they'd have to charge. And yeah, as great as this show was, it's really an opportunity to pick up books on the cheap for me. Or maybe even like one key book or a couple key books. Like, I'm not looking to spend a lot of money at the show. So it's a trade-off. Like, if ticket prices go up because they bring a couple big names, that would give me pause as to whether I'd go or not. Okay. But anyway, that's, we had a really great haul at Grit City. We've had a couple great hauls from Half Price Books recently. And so all in all, it's I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm not. I have a good filtration system now. What I would want to pick up, you know. Um, I've kind of just. It used to be kind of like, oh, I'll pick what I like, pick whatever I like, and um, that kind of vacillated from here to there. But I think I'm knowing how limited my space is, and kind of having a real targeted approach of like what I specifically want. I'm focused on that now. And so, hey Joe, what's up? Long time no see, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for hanging out. So today's show is gonna be pretty fun, and it's something all of us can do. So I mean, if you enjoy this content and you feel like doing something similar, by all means do so. I haven't seen anybody in the community put out this particular topic or subject, but I just thought it'd be funny. And so what we're going to focus on is, um, we all know like how comic books, how famous front covers are, right? Like they're just, I mean, this one needs no explanation. It's ASM 100. It's got this beautiful, really tough to get high grade in, this background with all the characters there. And again, just I mean, this covers speaks for itself in terms of iconic images. But what about the back cover? Now, the back cover on comic books, even to this day, is reserved for as advertising space. This is another revenue stream for comic books. Um, and so, you know, um, I really look at it as comic books shouldn't necessarily be going up in price because, again, I mentioned before, printing costs, like printing press, you can put out high quality work like this now on, you know, uh, pretty much like um, on some of the latest, print presses. So the print press used to be this huge like machination of a machine that rolled off. It just had this like uh, automation to it, but it rolled off, and it used different inks stapled, and it was just this like very complicated piece of machinery. While now it's more accurate. Um, it uses paper more efficiently. It's using, um, probably like a series of toners now rather than um, specifically like ink stamping and ink rolling. So, yeah, print technology's improved, printing costs have gone down. At the same time, you have advertisers advertising in the space, and it just doesn't make sense. Like you can't use that inflation argument with comic books. If anything, maybe paper costs might have gone up, but overall operations, um, you know, you can really control that overhead in terms of the materials and the printing, and you know knowing what kind of volumes you're going to print each month. So, yeah, when you see publishing companies charging like seven, eight, almost $10 for a book, that seems a little ridiculous to me, and it's a lot of profit margin for these comic book companies. So, there's one way to for fans to, if you don't like that price, um, you know, you can speak with your wallets essentially. Like, don't just go out there and if something is a little too expensive in your opinion, then don't buy it. Wait till it drops in price because they all eventually drop in price eventually. The modern books. Um, so that's my little spiel on overpriced, how overpriced the comic book market is, in my opinion. I just think there's just no justification for it to be a $10 book. Um, okay, but anyway, getting back to my point, again, great front cover, but when you look at the back cover, this is the back cover. Do you need extra money? $100 is yours. This has to be about the worst advertisement. It comes from a cheerful card company in White Plains, New York. And they literally had just like this card, like you could cut it out. That's just an awful like ad idea to begin with. But they're promising like if you sell, I guess, Christmas cards or something, for selling only 100 boxes of our new Crystal Fantasy Christmas card box assortment, you make $1 for selling one box, $2 for selling two boxes. I don't know. It just seems like a little bit of a pyramid scheme scam or something. I don't know. Very shady. The cheerful card company is doing some shady child labor advertising here, getting kids to slang their card stock. But anyway, great front cover, but poor advertising decision there from what is this 1970 or so? What is this 70? They don't even have the year on here. Anyway, dumb back cover. And we're only going to talk about. I agree. So, like, this list isn't going to cover, maybe it should have, but I was going to steer away from black back cover art because, if you look at the Marvel Comics Presents or, yes, the X-Men Classics, they all have like story related back covers. A lot of the fanfares do as well. In fact, all the fanfares do as well. But I steered away from that because that's actually like cover art. But maybe we should have done that list. But I agree, yeah. X-Men Classic X-Men has a lot of great back cover art. But that's not really what I'm like focused on. So I'm steering away from like, wraparound covers or specific back art, back cover art on some of the lesser, the lesser reader volume type runs of books. We're specifically focusing on the ads, unfortunately, but there are a lot of cool ads. So this is sort of a kind of stroll down memory lane on some of the unique ads. And these are just my opinions. Obviously, if you think a Captain Crunch cereal ad is like super dope, by all means, that's your choice for back cover. These are just back covers that kind of speak to me because I think they're interesting or they just share something about that period. And yeah, again, things that are pretty unique and cool that catch your attention essentially. So we're going to start here with this book, Fantastic Four. This is my signed copy by Jim Lee. Great cover there. And again, this is the volume 2. This is a little bit controversial when it came out because, FF had such a history a storied legacy in terms of its volume run, and then they basically reestablish a new serial run with volume 2. And this was like, I think, I want to say it was like one of the first major titles to kind of separate, um, and just kind of reset, you know, um, the continuity, the storyline. So it was kind of a bold move by Marvel. They poured a lot of marketing into this, but I think in hindsight they probably regret having done that. But I mean, to no fault of Jim Lee, because he just, again, for the first couple of issues of this run, it was beautifully, the art was beautiful. I think the story was sort of the issue on this one. But anyway, beautiful cover. You got Doom in the background there, and I just love that signature. But anyway, the back cover is a little unknown show called Sliders. And this is, I guess, a show on Fox. Season premiere, September 20th of 1997. Same time, same place, different dimensions. So, for those of you, this stars Jerry O'Connell, who is the child star from Stand By Me. He's the pudgy kid. And Stand By Me is another great example of, you know, my youth. I was right around those guys' age. In fact, I think River Phoenix is he's only like a year, maybe a year older than I am. I want to say. Will Wheaton also probably was like around my age, if maybe a year younger. I don't know. Those guys are all probably around my age. But I just remember watching Stand By Me and just enjoying that story, and you know, the importance of friendship at that age. You know, as you're just kind of discovering adolescence and leaving your childhood behind. It was a great movie. I'm sure all of you have seen it. But yeah, anyway, Jerry O'Connell was the that kid in that, and then he ends up kind of like getting in shape and becoming this sort of like Hollywood star. I mean, not like major star, but he started some television programs, and he's a relatively funny guy. I think he's married to Mystique, the original Mystique, Rebecca Romaine, she's like super hot, right? So anyway, I think he's currently hosting Pictionary on Fox as well. So he's just got this relationship with the Fox network, and he's hosting Pictionary, the game show, I think, which is brilliant. I mean, Pictionary's just a lot of fun with your friends, but make it a game show, and it's like, wow, that's fun to watch as well. So for all you Jerry O'Connell fans, the back cover of Fantastic Four features an ad for this obscure 90s show. If you watch Sliders, let us know what you thought of it. Never heard of the show, never watched it. All right, our next back cover is on the back of this issue, Superman 205. This is the B cover, Michael Turner variant. One of my absolute gems in the collection, because we have it signed by Michael, and I just love this Superman image of him flying over the earth, uh, reminiscent of Superman in the original movie as well. And Superman, after he kind of saves the world from destruction, he does his little flying around montage, and always is him like going into space and doing that turn into the sun. Um, just a really cool like image, especially with the Superman, John Williams Superman theme playing in the background. Just that's why you love Superman, right? And this is just captures those vibes. But the back cover is also very interesting. We have here Tracy McGrady. Now, I love Tracy McGrady back in the day. Um, and this is like him with his original team, the Orlando Magic there. And it's a milk ad. Um, so, uh, yeah, like the milk industry does a lot of advertising. I don't know if they still do a lot of advertising. I don't know if they even have to do advertising. I'm sure they are still doing the Got Milk. Um, I'm sure that campaign's still going strong somewhere. I just haven't seen Got Milk in a while. But yeah, this is just they get a lot of cool people to do the Got Milk ads, and so this is kind of kicking us off our first Got Milk ad by the milk industry, the powerful milk industry, I guess. The one that has us addicted to milk, cheese, cream cheese, uh, butter, everything, yeah, all the good stuff, right? Next we have before we continue, I gotta get one more book. Hang on. All right, I had to get one more book. All right, so where was I? Our next book is G.I. Joe 42. Great Mike Zeck cover. Great Storm Shadow cover. As you know, like Storm Shadow is just one of my favorite characters of all time. And yeah, I mean there aren't too many great Storm Shadow covers. There are a lot of Storm Shadow covers, but there aren't a lot of great Storm Shadow covers. And if you ask me, this is probably one of the best, if not the best, Storm Shadow covers. Just Mike Zeck killing it here. Um, and GI Joe. This is at the height of GI Joe. I think this is what into season 3 of GI Joe. I think by that point, like this is probably like the start of the end of GI Joe a little bit. Um, it's definitely the height of like Transformers as well. Transformers is big. Actually, it might be into the decline of Transformers because Transformers, everybody loved Transformers, and then they went ahead. Some stupid executive at Hasbro or what was the other? I guess at the movie studios. It probably a combination of both, right? They they wanted to kind of introduce a new toy line so that the kids have to buy new toys. And so they killed off like Optimus Prime. They killed off I mean, they literally killed off like the first generation of toys, like even the Dinobots. And they bring in Rodimus Prime and a bunch of like characters no one really cares about. So basically, like killed their brand, and then they eventually bring everybody back, right? They realize the mistake they made, but by that point, come on, it's like you just can't kill off a bunch of beloved characters in front of the kids and traumatize them during like what was supposed to be a happy movie night, right? Yeah, it's just the worst. Just the worst decision. But that probably isn't as bad as morphodroids. So if you couldn't afford Transformers or GoBots, I guess your third choice was morphodroids. And morphodroids apparently had enough. Um, they decided, as part of their marketing budget, to advertise on GI Joe, because GI Joe is not technically the competition, right? It's not like they're advertising on Transformers, but it's still the same demographic who has the Transformers. So they figured, hey, this is our chance. They just killed off Optimus Prime, Megatron. The kids are just reeling. Let's introduce the Morphodroids. Just a really poor executed. I mean, that robot just looks like a Russian nesting doll. What's going on there? Um, the car doesn't even, I mean, it's not even a real, it's like they were selling the concept on the ad rather than showing the actual toys. Because they were like, oh, this could be a failing venture. Let's test it with our let's test it with our concept art first before we commit to production. um yeah, just a funny ad because I don't know, maybe had morphodroids, and if you did, I feel bad for your childhood. um but a little funny, interesting cover there, back cover there. All right, continuing on. I'm having fun with this, man. This is just hilarious. All right, uh, our next book is a book probably everybody has in their collection, and everybody probably has it, but they value it maybe differently. For me, it's just like, yeah, if I can pick this book up at a reasonable price, and reasonable, I mean like in that $3 or less range, I'll pick it up because I think it has much more value than that. I won't pick it up for $10. I won't pick it up even for $5. But again, it's like that $3, and you can definitely do that. These are all dollar bin books all day long. Um, I'll do it, and I only pick them up if they're above a certain grade, like if they're that Fine Plus VF range. That's when we're picking it up. But yeah, this is a very special copy. This is the Magneto cover. It has the 90s Jim Lee signature, the 90s design, and just love it. Love that cover. Now, obviously, all five of these covers share the same, or I should say, four connecting covers share the same back cover, and everybody knows what's on the back of this cover. If you don't remember, when you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's the back cover. And and this is again, perfect ad placement, targeting just absolutely genius by Toys R Us and Toy Biz. The action figures from the 90s. Um, I just remember when I got this issue being like too old to play with action figures, but thinking, man, that's pretty cool. They got X-Men action figures. Um, they're not the greatest looking things, but you got Apocalypse, you got Juggernaut. I mean, you got Archangel there. How cool is that? Um, I do not like the X Factor. I mean, yeah, I guess they designed this before, like the team. I guess they had no clue as to what the design of how it would return to the original or closer to the original design of Cyclops. But yeah, some of these designs are just kind of janky. Hey, what's up, Luke? Les Cruces? Thanks for joining, man. We're talking back covers, interesting back covers, my favorite back covers, um, and yeah, the, again, it's all advertising essentially, right? So we're just basically talking about ads and how interesting they are, and again, how apropos that X-Men 1 would have an ad for X-Men action figures. Bring home all the action, fully articulated. Well, I don't know about that. Between 5 and 6 inches high. Each comes with accessories and Impel trading card. Yeah, I think they're reselling not this line, but that popular line from the 90s. I think the post X-Men 97. You won again. What'd you win? What's some more, like a Grail book or something? All right. The next book. Um, the next book is. This was before my time. Okay, this was before my time. But I just think it's. I just think it's. It's something. If I had been growing up in this time, I'm sure I would have um, bought and played with and been a fan of. And just trying to figure out. I think these books are right around the same period. I want to say. I think this one precedes this one, so I'm going to show them in order. But anyway, the two books I'm going to feature now are ASM 141 and Justice League of America 138. We got a great Neil Adams cover, a great John Romita Sr. cover. I mean, just the front covers here are just, it's just genius. It's just, I mean, this is like a, I don't even know how to equate it. It's just it's why we collect these books, right? Everything about this art is why we collect and read comic books. But the back covers feature this line of toys from Ideal, was the toy company, and they're Evil Knievel toys. So basically, you have this like, I'm assuming you kind of pull it back, and then the cycle just accelerates and jumps off crap. How cool is that, right? And it, like you have an action figure on there that kind of like flies, and anyway, they've got like an Evil Knievel chopper, they've got an Evil Knievel stunt cycle, an Evil Knievel gyro powered energizer that you kind of, I guess you kind of whip it and it takes off. And there's even a funny car, one of those remember those, the funny cars that flipped up, the kind of, they had those funny cars, man. This, and a rocket, they have a rocket. So I'm just like looking at this ad, and then this one has even more crap, like a scramble van, what's probably the start of the Hot Wheels tracks and stuff, right? You got Evil Knievel doing all these stunts. So you basically like launch it with this. I guess it has some kind of gyro. Um, it's controlled by some kind of gyro on the wheels, and then it just maintains this kind of like spin that allows the thing to like take off and crash into crap. I've got a crash car as well. And that's just so cool. Like again, Evil Knievel was just like, he was on TV doing all these like high flying stunts, and I'm sure, like kids were probably enthralled. Wow. And then, tragedy strikes, and parents probably don't, this toy line probably died with Evil Knievel. So I just think it's interesting because it's history for me. Like, I never lived through that. I didn't grow up. I mean, I think I lived through Evil Knievel, but I was too young to have really played with the toys or understand what like what stunts were, and what, like, I was shielded basically. I just had no idea who Evil Knievel was until I was a little older. Um, yeah, before he died. Gotcha. Yeah, it's tragic how I think his son died as well, right? In a similar fashion. That's just like super sad. And it's dangerous. Like jumping over, like, I mean, I'm sure it's the ultimate thrill, but like speeding, down this like ramp, and then speeding down a ramp, and then jumping off a ramp, and then trying to jump as many like cars and trucks as you can. It's insane. All right, so what's up? Happy holidays. I'm sure everybody's excited for turkey tomorrow. So we're talking, again, we're talking comic book back covers and ads on the back covers, and just kind of my favorite back cover ads in books. We focus so much on the front cover. We tend not to look at what's on the back, or even if we do look, if we do look on the back, we know it's an ad, so we don't spend too much time. But again, a lot of these ads, like the one I just showed you, the Evil Knievel, it's just like kind of like reminiscent of that time, of like a snapshot of what was, I guess, what the marketers were pushing on on kids at the time. So a lot of just cool nostalgia and history. In terms of the Eagle Knievel, that's his history. So that's nice history there. Okay, so next book. We've got Cyberforce number 9. The significance of this Cyberforce number 9 is it's the first interior work by Michael Turner. Plus, it's also just a great, like, Mark Silvestri cover. It's also a lot of sort of collaboration between Turner and Silvestri. So I think what Turner excelled at was when he began working in comic books for Top Cow. He was very good at kind of like mimicking Silvestri's. I'm sure he picked up a lot of things from Silvestri as well, but he was very good at kind of mimicking that style of Silvestri, so he could kind of take over a lot of the heavy lifting for the artwork from Silvestri. And that's evident here. It's like you turning the pages and you're not quite sure what's Silvestri and what's Turner, but what you do notice is there's like it's sort of a departure from what Silvestri normally does. It's evident here on the cover as well, so I'm not sure if the cover had any support from. I highly doubt it. I'm sure Silvestri put out this cover himself, but there's that remote chance. But anyway, it was. What year was this? This was the year of 1994, and these image creators, they're busy. They're running, they're running a big corporation now, or a company. They need to manage employees and uh, handle accounting, invoicing, orders, uh, all the fun stuff about owning and managing a business. Um, and one area where they were able to, I guess, maybe they didn't have the sponsorship of the bigger companies, so they made the best of the key advertising spots on their book. And so Top Call went with it, an ad, basically with Cyblade, of course, what they were marketing and selling. Cyberforce Origins #1 Cyblade coming to a comic book shop near you. And Silvestri is going to be at the Golden Apple, January 28th, signing books for one day only. So you could get your personal copy signed. So it's basically like, hey, go out and get this book, and all the people in Southern California can line up and get Silvestri's signature. I know if I lived in Southern California and I saw this, I would have definitely waited in line with my copy of Cyberforce Origins. I think I did have go out and buy Cyberforce Origins. I remember buying it because it was a Silvestri cover. It was, I think, a brown background, if I remember correctly. But it was just this beautiful, like, it was actually better articulated than what you're seeing here in terms of that cover art. It was just beautiful. Like she's like just standing there looking very, very sexy. So yeah, I remember getting sucked into the marketing of the whole thing and buying that issue. So good memories there. Um, do it. um, we're gonna kind of get into the '80s because I think the '90s, the ads of the '90s were already kind of was a well-oiled machine, but where you began to see ads um, becoming more sophisticated was in the copper age, fortunately. Um, and so, if you look at, um, there was a there was a period of in comic books where ads were just they were just trying to sell toys and like these weird gimmicks. Like if you look at the Silver Age back covers, that they're wanting kids to like join art school, go to this like join the industry. It was basically recruiting like kids who liked to draw comics and stuff. That was the ad they ran for like every month. It was just this like some art school just had the bunny to like recruit to the kids who loved drawing, right? But then it transitioned into like toys and then just weird gimmicks and stuff. But then it got, corporations started taking notice and you started getting like ads for cereal or ads for like milk is a great example. Video games and movies. So it just kind of like it graduated and got more sophisticated. Um, and this next one really illustrates that well. You had one of the most popular games around this time. I just remember it was like one of the best games. Um, Before we get to it, let me just show you. Okay, this is the book we're going to show off. Really super relevant book. Key, one of the most important events in Marvel history, I guess you could say, and probably um, one of the top books of the Copper Age. But what's on the back cover is also very significant because basically it's the first time. I mean, I don't want to say it's the first time, but it's probably one of the first uh, ads, not for like a game system, because they probably had ads for Atari and like Commodore 64 and all those, but it's really the first time you're seeing software, like game software, trying to brand itself. Um, and this is an ad by Parker Brothers that was developing the Frogger game. And basically it's saying, hey, you can enjoy Frogger on 8 different game systems. The Atari 5200. I mean, half of these are Atari and Commodore. The Intellivision. And this was just like right as Atari and, home game systems were just kind of taking off. But yeah, you saw the different versions of Frogger there. Frogger was a very popular game. I remember being hooked to my Atari. I had the original Atari, the one they sold at Sears, um, with just the one joystick and the ping pong paddles, like the turn paddles. And I think the big games are like Frogger, Defender, Pac-Man, Pitfall. Pitfall came later, but Pitfall was also popular on that system. Um, but yeah, just and Asteroids, that was another big one. But those games were, compared to what games are now. Those games are just like kind of like. Um, I just remember being so good at Pac-Man. Um, I like broke the counter score. It couldn't go higher anymore. Um, yeah, like mastering Pac-Man, the Atari Pac-Man. The Atari Pac-Man is way different from the Namco uh, Pac-Man. That was actually the arcade version was a lot more difficult, but the Atari version one was just like so simple. Like you could just literally like keep going and going and leveling up. And then eventually it doesn't let you get beyond a certain score. And I just remember being like, I played it to that point where it was just like, just absolutely pointless. Like I mastered it. So, but Frogger was a different story. Frogger, like there was it was a challenging one. I don't remember mastering Frogger because it progressively got faster and faster. And it was like at a certain point you just couldn't, like it was impossible to cross that stream. So anyway, a lot of nostalgia there. Um, Here's another book, Avengers. This was a little bit before I started collecting comics, but what intrigued me about, first of all, great John Byrne cover there. Love the Scarlet Witch. Yes. Um, but I do remember the Star Trek movie. Now, I don't remember going to the theater to watch Star Trek. I remember watching Star Trek 1 on television a couple years later. But here is, again, this book is before I really started collecting. Yeah, way before I started collecting, 79. And then we have this cool Star Trek the movie ad. Now, I saw Star Trek on television, and I didn't understand it. I was still way too young to really understand it, but I just remember being like, being impressed by the Enterprise, and all the aliens that were kind of like shown in the movie. But it wasn't until Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, my neighbors, so my best friend was my neighbor. My best friend's mom took both of us to go see Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And that was, I mean, that was just like, that was the best movie. It was a little scary too because they had the little ear thing, the earworm bugs that went in and controlled your mind. That was a little scary. I think I was, 7 or something at that time. But man, was that like one of the best like space action battle sequences, and the soundtrack was pretty dope. And yeah, Wrath of Khan's a classic. And that launched definitely launched the Star Trek franchise. So yeah, I just remember being really coming out of the theater being just like, wow, what did I just see? And being so impressed with the movie. All right, so we still got some more to go. We're getting into sort of the more I think more interesting back covers now, and it'll bring up some talking points for me. Batman. I'm Batman. Uh, this is the premiere issue of Batman Hush. This is the A cover. The more highly valued one is the second print. But this is not a bad cover either. I like this cover as well. But on both the second print and this first print is an ad. It's another Got Milk ad. We got Tom Brady. So this is from 2001, and this is, I want to say this is like, I mean, this can't be, well, Tom Brady was drafted in what? I want to say 90, was it 99? 98, 99? So, I mean, it couldn't have been too far from um, his rookie season. So, anyway, we got a Got Milk ad. I hate Tom Brady. Just going to say it right now. He beat the Seahawks. Well, I mean, he didn't beat the Seahawks. He did beat the Seahawks. I mean, but what I mean is like he came back, and then we marched right down the field. And that was the infamous Russell Wilson, getting picked off in the end zone rather than running the ball to Marshawn Lynch beast mode and letting Marshawn do what he does best, right? At the 1 yard line, no less. So one of the probably the biggest dropped ball in football history, and this guy's jumping around like the dweeb that he is. He's a dweeb. I'm sorry, he's just a big dweeb. He can play football. I'll give him that, but he's a dweeb. And he's the spokesman for Man Uggs, which no man would ever wear, right? Except this dweeb would wear Man Uggs. So that says everything. Anyway, moving on. Back to, all right, so we've got our next book here, Uncanny X-Men 303. This is a key book. It's the death of magic. Right? It's the death of magic. And it's the death of a character. I'm not sure who the character is. But what's interesting is this is from 1992. And so at around this time, there was probably the most popular video game on the market, which was Street Fighter. And Street Fighter was just ingenious with all the different characters you could play. They had my favorite character is Sagat with the tiger shorts and the tiger uppercut. He's this one-eyed. He's literally like a one-eyed NBA basketball Muay Thai fighter from Thailand. And he just had the coolest design as well. But I mean, there were just a bunch of every character in that game, from Chun-Li to down to like Vega, was cool and had their own little backstory and national origin and all that. So yeah, Street Fighter was just like killing it. But in 1992, a game to challenge Street Fighter came out, and it was using like real, like video, like basically photo captures of real people that they were animating into the video game. And it was like super violent as well, right? Prepare yourself, Mortal Monday, September 13th. So there wasn't a lot of context as to what this was, but it was the introduction of Mortal Kombat. And Mortal Kombat, like, I mean, come on. Who did not love Mortal Kombat, right? Mortal Kombat was just so bloody and gruesome and violent. And again, a lot of cool characters. You had these like good ninjas, bad ninjas, kind of like G.I. Joe characters on steroids. Bunch of like Psylocke, Electra type assassins in the game as well. Just, I mean, it was just beautifully designed. And so, yeah, that's just, that's very nostalgic for the 90s collectors there. Mortal Kombat. And then they came out with a movie a couple years later that was just awesome as well. What's up? Enjoyed your 1011 the other night, K-pop? Did not, like, I love it when you show off your comic book collection. You need to do that more. All right. So yeah, we're just covering back covers now. Really talking about ads and pop culture and all that. So, along with the cool front covers, we've got very interesting ads. So these are just the most interesting back covers. Really, the most interesting ads. And this was just impromptu. I kind of went through my collection and picked out whatever was like eye catching, because there are a lot of back covers that just have nothing on them. You got that art school. Do you like to draw? Guy at the easel drawing, I think himself or something. But that lame ass Silver Age ad is just everywhere on every book. So all right, so we've got the New 52 Free Comic Book Day. I love this cover. Except the fact that they took away Superman's underpants during this period. I guess they thought the underpants looked dated or just didn't make sense. Why would you wear underwear on the outside of your suit? So they kind of gave him this like sleek, like durable material looking suit, I guess. It's like Kryptonian technology suit, and they just put like a red belt on there and thought, yeah, that'll fly with fans. I mean, again, I if I was in the boardroom when they made that decision, I would have said, no, come on, let's keep the red pants. Um, you guys are just not understanding the design of the character. But yeah, Jim Lee, unfortunately, was the harbinger of this horrific no underpants design, and they ran with that for many, many years until they realized, you know what, let's just start over. But yeah, again, they had given him the red underpants. It would have been a dope cover. It still is a dope cover, but don't like the underpants. But on the back of this is The Legend Ends. The Dark Knight Rises. So this is from what year is this? 2012. Okay. 2012. This is the Bane breaking Batman's Back. I just picked this. I literally picked the comic book up, Batman 495 up yesterday for $2. Really high grade copy. So the breaking of Batman's Back was a huge event back in the 90s, right? Because it introduced Azrael as the Batman, and it was just one of those like moments where you're like, no, and like you see the like Bane dropping him on his knee, and then you hear the crack in the panel, right? That there's the literal writing of the word crack, and you're just like, no way, they broke Batman's back, and it was just kind of like that moment where Magneto pulled out Wolverine's adamantium. It was like a just a dangerous time for all your iconic superheroes because they were like killing them or maiming them or doing something just to traumatize fans, doing everything they could to jolt you into um, buying more books. But anyway, yeah, it was a big event, and now, almost 20 years later, they're immortalizing it on film. So, and then the way they did in the film I thought was really well done. Again, I think Christopher Nolan's Batman is um, it's going to be hard to top. I don't think it'll ever be topped. You could come close, but it will never be topped because it's just so good. The entire format, the trilogy, the introduction of like four major characters actually, and four major villains, I should say, and just the great acting, casting, and acting overall. Yeah, and this was just a tremendous conclusion to that trilogy. I just thoroughly, I was in the movie theaters and I was like, man, this movie better be good. I kind of went in with like, it's going to be hard to beat the second movie, right? Because the second movie was just like magnifique, and it really, I don't want to say it surpassed the second movie, but it held up. I mean, it was just like a roller coaster ride from the get go all the way to the end. So, uh, very, very entertaining film, and things like that. Well, you know, I don't know. Batman has a cult following for a reason because they've been able to execute. In the '60s, the Batman television series, '80s, the Batman Keaton Batman movie, which subsequently ran for nearly a decade, and then um, the new millennium decade, they had the Nolan Batman, and now Batman's just one of those like perpetually relevant movie franchises that you just bring in good writing, uh, some new villains, and just keep fans enthralled in that mystery roller coaster ride, and you just got the formula for success. So, um, looking forward to the next Matt Reeves Batman, but for people who are saying the Matt Reeves Batman was better than the Nolan Batman, I disagree wholeheartedly. I think it was entertaining, but yeah, it wasn't better by any means. Um, and we'll see. We'll have to see how the second. I think Hush is the villain in the second one, so we'll just have to see how well they do it, how well they execute. All right. The next book is Batman. Is Batman. It's another great Jim Lee cover. That I believe is the ghost of, or the remains of Jason Todd. And that's the thing, like they get you to think during the series that Hush is Jason Todd, right? That it's Jason Todd resurrected. Um, but yeah, they throw the twist at the end there. So, um, but anyway, this was a pivotal Batman run by Jim Lee, Jeff Loeb. Just a classic, probably one of the best runs on Batman ever. And people forget that this was, right at the turn of the millennium, when Angela Jolie was the top, just star, Hollywood star. She was this was right around the time she and Brad Pitt made news, or it might have been before. Yeah, just a little before, actually. So a little before she hooked up with Brad Pitt, but she's here advertising against the milk industry again, peddling sex to young teenage boys with her photoshopped perfect abs. Yeah, Photoshop is so apparent on this particular print. Photoshop today is a lot more subtle, but back when this Photoshop technology was just emerging, you can totally see all the enhancements that were made to her. I mean, and to be fair, I'm sure she has a remarkable figure, but I'm sure they had to enhance it a little bit to sell milk. And Tomb Raider, by the way. Okay, so that's Lara Croft, and a little bit of history there. I'm not the biggest Angelina Jolie fan. That's just me. I like Jennifer Aniston. So if you would give me a choice between Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie, I would probably go with Jennifer Aniston. But again, they're both very beautiful and attractive people. So, Brad Pitt's a lucky guy. All right, so our next book is Thundercats. Jim Lee cover here. I just recently picked up my second copy of this book for $1. Very happy with that. Very good grade as well. I think it's as good as my previous copies. So for $1, that's gold. On the back cover, though, what we have is again, I love this movie. I think it's I just got to go back and watch it again because it's one of those like films that are just so good and so loaded with like really like iconic scenes, like vampires being killed by like samurai swords and stuff. And that's Blade, and you can own Blade 2 on DVD. And you got Wesley Snipes on the back of a comic book. And this is not the milk ad, it's Got Blood. Got Blood. So that's that. Our next book, we're almost done. We've got what, maybe 4 more books left. 3 or 4, yeah, 4 more books left. 5 books left. We've got Justice League. This is the New 52 Justice League number 4. I think this is the 3rd print cover. So you got this sort of more cool colored cover, whereas the A cover is like a warmer, like orangish cover. This is just sort of more oceanic, but no less dope cover of Aquaman. And just kind of humiliating Green Lantern there. And on the back of this is the final season of Smallville is now on Blu-ray and DVD. Own the complete series. I would have bought this set had I known of its existence. Because you literally have, what, 10 seasons on here? It ran for 10 seasons, right? All 218 episodes on 62 discs, over 28 hours of extras, including 5+ hours of new bonus content. And I stopped watching Smallville probably around like season 7. This was after Kristen Crook had left the show. So I was just kind of like, oh, there's no more reason for me to, because I, as cool as the Lois, Clark and Lois love story, they get married and they live happily ever after, and really you saw the writing on the wall right around season 5, that when they brought in Lois's character, like why she would come to Smallville, it just, in terms of the overall arc of the story, it just kind of like seemed too convenient. I mean, don't get me wrong, the actress who plays Lois is great. She is really like just down to earth, funny, and I'm sure I would want to be friends with her, like in real life, because that's probably her character of Lois is probably 85% her right there. And like, yeah, they wrote it really well to where they get together and all that. But yeah, for me, it's like the departure of Kristen she was the reason I really got into the show and watched it, to be honest. Like, and then to see them get together right around in season 5, was just like, oh yeah, they're finally together, they're happy, and like, and then they take it away from you again. It was just like this. Yeah, they messed with you. They messed with the Klana fans for sure. But yeah, that's what we have here. So let's talk about Superman. I know I mentioned that great Superman cover by Michael Turner earlier, and there's news. So I get out some of my cards as well. There was some news related to the Superman Legacy casting. They had basically announced that they might be casting certain actors and actresses to play certain roles. And they revealed characters like Hawkgirl, Eve Tessmacher, Lex Luthor. So we know Luthor's going to be some kind of antagonist, probably the main villain in the new movie. Plus, we already know uh, Clark and Lois are in it. They announced, Jimmy Olsen is going to be in the movie as well. So if you go back and watch my videos from when, they announced Gunn, they announced my legacy, I had, I basically pleaded with DC to essentially kind of make a modern version of the 78 Christopher Reeve Superman, right? Just go back to basics is essentially what I was pleading with Gunn, the producers, because that's essentially where the brand has to, you have to go back to what the character essentially is, right? Like fans have to be reminded of like, this is who Superman is. This is why you should cheer for him. This is why he's the best character in comic books. Um, you know, and it doesn't have to be some brooding, traumatized, like, you know, he just has to be a guy who grew up helping people, and that's just how he was raised, and that's how he goes about taking his immense, like superhuman abilities to go about helping people and saving the world, right? Um, and so, yeah, when they announced that lineup, I was just like, yes, they're sticking to the formula that they're sticking to this formula, and this is the legacy. So it's kind of like Superman legacy. What does that really entail in terms of the universe that Superman's in? Okay, so you got to, that's the thing Gunn is coming up with. But when you step back into the context of the real world, and when these actors are, these very young, attractive, like talented cast of actors, when they're marketing the movie, when they're doing all these like interviews to set up the movie and promote it, they're going to be literally talking about the legacy of this movie here, right? Um, the, the actors and actresses like Gene Hackman, Valerie Perrine, uh, Margot Kidder, Christopher Reeve, and I think that's a good place to be for kind of resetting, just bringing fans back into the fold, like teaching this younger generation, like, look, you probably heard about Christopher Reeve Superman, but have you really gone back and watched the movie? Go watch the movie, and that'll ignite, I think, a lot of passion for the character again. Because the reason people don't like the character is because they probably haven't watched that original movie. And I know this for a fact because I've talked to so many younger comic book fans who have an opinion on Superman, right? They have an opinion on Superman. But when you ask them if they've watched the Christopher Reeve movie, they'll say no. They've probably seen scenes here and there. They know of Christopher Reeve. They know he played Superman, but they never watched that movie. And it's a long movie. It's a long movie to get through. It's almost a 3-hour movie, right? So I get, if you have a attention span of a Gen Zer, you probably can't even sit through the opening credits of that movie. But um, yeah, it's a different era of movie making. It's at the advent of big motion picture box office type draw type movies. It's at the advent of special effects in movies as well, and so yeah, it's a classic. And so when they draw upon the legacy of that classic and bring bring that story and bring the elements of what made that movie great into the modern element. Maybe they're gonna where they pace it a little faster, but the mold is there, right? It's a modern take on the classic mold, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. And all these announcements just give me more confidence that's the direction they're headed in. So I am super excited. I'm very excited about the Gun Legacy movie, and I think I really think it'll be a huge hit. Um, now, um, it's going to probably be marketed like crazy. So anytime you market something like crazy, and again, given this cast with all that promo, you're arming them with so much history and legacy for for those promos. I mean, you're literally going to have a marketing campaign that can't fail, right? I mean, you got people passionate about talking about their project, along with all that added ammo of what to talk about and how to talk about it and sell it in a genuine way. Um, that's just it's a slam dunk. All right, next, the jock cover, Detective Comics. This book, aside from the cover, this book that I have is a 9.8. This is just absolute. I mention this every time I look at this book, and the back cover is really what gives away, because the front cover, again, flawless, immaculate, but the back cover as well. Um, I know you can't probably see as well as I can see. I think if I turn it like this, you can see the back cover. Um, no spine ticks whatsoever on this black cover here. When it gets into focus, if it ever gets into focus, and it's coming into focus right there, maybe. So yeah, like you can just, there we go. Got milk, superpower, got milk. So as you can see, just flawless back cover. We got the Ryan Reynolds Got Milk ad, Green Lantern ad. This movie was a failure, right? I think it confused a lot of fans when Sinestro was introduced as a good guy. It just confused people, like, why? I guess they're trying to set up the second film or something, but it was, yeah, it just was a horrible origin story. And I don't know. I didn't hate it, but I can understand why a lot of fans were pissed off. He wasn't really staying in character to who Hal Jordan was, and I don't know. I think Ryan Reynolds better in that comic element than he is probably in like a serious, serious leading role. And perfect for Deadpool. Perfect for Deadpool. So a little nostalgia. This is Ryan's pre-Deadpool days. And that leads us into probably one of the, first of all, okay, love this book. It's a Jim Lee. It's the Batman 608 second print vibes, but in Barcelona. And Yeah, awesome cover from 2009. But on the back, we got Hugh Jackman slanging milk again. Yeah. If you drink milk, you get adamantium bones and claws. I think that's my powers to regenerate might be top secret, but my ability to re-energize is simple. Milk has protein to help build muscle and a unique mix of nutrients to help you refuel. It's just a cool ass looking ad, first off. Okay. Um, so that's what makes it. And this was highlighting one of the worst movies, comic book movies of all time, if not the worst, is X-Men Origins Wolverine. So we went from one bad movie to a worse movie, in my opinion. But two great milk ad covers. So maybe there's something to be said about promoting your movie with milk ads. Maybe don't do it. Um, all right, we're down to our last two books, and that is G.I. Joe. And what is this? 63. There's also a Zek cover. Nice Scarlet Snake Eyes story. Now, Scarlet Jane and Snake Eyes, there's this sort of like intimation that they're kind of um, romantically involved. I think it's more on Scarlet's side. I think Scarlet is kind of their colleague. They're obviously like colleagues. They're war battle colleagues. But I think Scarlet has a little bit of like a crush or infatuation with Snake Eyes. And of course, Snake Eyes can't express anything because he's mute. Um, he's mute and he can't sign, which is about the worst thing for anybody because I don't know, how are you communicating at the end of the day? Just writing everything down. Um, but anyway, uh, Snake Eyes and Scarlet, may they eventually get together at some point. Um, but no, that's not the reason why we picked this book. The reason we picked this book is for its back cover, which has this amazing preview of the wedding of the year. Da, 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 da. So Peter and MJ's wedding. It's a back cover invitation. I just love this. I think this back cover is better than a lot of. I mean, obviously, it's the actual front cover of the next book in for ASM, right? Um, but I mean, if you're gonna do an ad, you might as well just commission John Romita Senior to do all the artwork because that's what you got here. So Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21 is what's going to close us out. I don't even have a desire to get the Peter Parker because I have it right here. So, I don't necessarily need the other version per se. But yeah, it's just a great, again, back cover G.I. Joe. If you want it, get the back cover. This is probably cost you like 25 cents in some quarter bin. Actually, G.I. Joe's heating up. I should say that. Everybody's hunting for G.I. Joe, so it'll probably cost you $1 to $2 for this book. Maybe even $3. I think it's worth $3 if you want to get it for $3. Get the newsstand for $3 though. But anyway, we've got the preview with Peter, and then we got the actual cover with him in the suit. And it's a glorious cover. Okay, but what's on the back? What's on the back of this book? What's going to close us out? It's, again, I think one of the worst. Going from one of the best previews to one of the worst previews. Um, I don't know. Maybe you loved this era of yeah, this era of Fantastic Four, but it's the new Fantastic Four, the Thing, the Human Torch, Crystal, Ms. Marvel. Dear Vic, guess who's in charge now? It's clobbering time. Love that. Um, as confusing as that preview and ad is, um, yeah, the choice of the members is also very confusing. Um, hence, this is what led to the decline of Fantastic Four. I think for this late 80s to early 90s period, which is a long time if you think about a comic book not to have lost all its popularity. Talk about Superman needing rebranding. Fantastic Four is kind of in that state as well. So we have this Fantastic Four movie coming out, and I think they announced The Mandalorian is going to be Reed Richards, right? Um, not the not a horrible casting in my opinion, but at the same time, we'll just have to see. Like, I read somebody's opinion recently that basically had the opinion like, hey, we can't do Fantastic Four because CG can't capture the elasticity of Mr. Fantastic. CG can't realistically capture the rock structure of the Thing. So either you're going to have like a CGI Thing, or you have to have some kind of amalgamation of like makeup and CGI. I agree. I think Thing is a harder thing to make work in movies, but I don't think Mr. Fantastic is much of a stretch, because I mean, elasticity, things stretching with like venom and all that, people, it's already been achieved, so that's not a big lift. I think where you probably will run into is like making the Thing look comic book authentic and looking good on screen, because up to now they haven't done a good job. So I think you do have to do probably a CGI version of the Thing, but at the same time, you probably lose a little bit of the humanity of the character when you do go all CGI. So I think more than Mr. Fantastic being too difficult to do is the Thing that's going to really be the challenge. Along with the invisibility of Sue Storm. So it's like all four characters present CGI challenges. I think though they've done the Human Torch fairly well. I think you could do the Human Torch relatively cool. Like have a cool effects with the flames and all that in CGI. So, but really, it just all comes down to how are they going to introduce a team that's been introduced multiple times and set them up for success. And I don't know. I think Marvel's time is done, to be honest. They've kind of wasted the post Avengers setup period. with a bunch of flops. So I don't know what they're building to at this point. They're they've kind of built this foundation of flops, and they're trying to build the second and third layers on something that most fans maybe they can pull it off at the end of the day. But it just makes me worried about Secret Wars all the more. And it's like, so for you guys to have Secret Wars really be effective, you need to introduce Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom, and I guess layer that with the fact that there's like cosmic forces where you have an opportunity to introduce the Beyonder, or maybe even like if they go with Kang as the Secret Wars antagonist, which is completely a huge departure from the comic books. It's just a lot of curious variables at this point that don't give fans a lot of confidence. I'm not confident that Secret Wars will be good at this point. But I do see them leaning toward introducing the black suit, the symbiote, right, into Peter Parker. So that will at least be remain as a motif of what the comics books presented. But I don't know. Sometimes you have things you want to achieve, but and you think you're going about it the right way to kind of you know spice it up a little bit or differentiate it up a little bit from the source material. But I don't know, that actual manipulation of or the differentiation of is what ruins it. Right? They're making Silver Surfer. They're gonna make her female, or they're gonna make Silver Surfer androgynous. Androgynous makes more sense, right? Something without gender. Because let's face it, Silver Surfer is just this like dude without, where we weren't really clear on if it's a he or a she, right? There's no real distinction about gender on about for the Silver Surfer, right? He refers to himself in the third person, right? No, maybe not third person, but I mean, maybe he does refer to himself in the third person, but I don't know if he necessarily says I'm Mr. Silver Surfer, right? He never goes along those lines. So I think androgynous Silver Surfer is a good idea. But specifically assigning a gender to him doesn't necessarily, you know, I don't know. I don't know if it does any justice to the legacy of that character. There are transitions, like if you can race swap a character where it makes more sense to race swap a character, right? Or it doesn't take away from the character. But who knows? I guess you could look at it that way with gender as well. I don't think a female Silver Surfer would be the end of the world, but there's so many Silver Surfer fans. It's kind of like, I don't know, you're just taking too big of a risk with a change like that to alienate and cause more. Because people love to hate on, like Taylor Swift says, people love to hate on the absolutely most, uh, insignificant of things. They love to hate on stuff like that. So, I don't know. Try to give fans what they want, uh, and still, have that diversity, equity, inclusion kind of mantra. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Uh, I'm not gonna say it's good or bad either way, but it was perplexing. I was just kind of like, they're gonna make Silver Surfer a woman, so they're gonna give her just like Silver Surfer breasts and hips, and I don't know, it would just make it weird. It would you're gonna give her like like women's speedos as opposed to just like speedos. Um, I don't know. It's weird. All right. Oh, the CG, the the Terminator CG Silver Surfer. I don't know, dude. Go back and look at it now. It looks super dated. I don't know if I would say it. I mean, at the time, yeah, it looked cool. I think it did look cool at the time. It was the other characters that were kind of janky, right? Um, that's what I'm saying. Like if you essentially make a female version of the Silver Surfer, she's riding around naked, right? She's right. I mean, basically, I mean, I guess she wouldn't have nipples, I guess, because the Silver Surfer doesn't have nipples. So you just have this sort of like just voluptuous, like nippleless, uh, I guess, genitalialess figure. So at that point, what's the point of it? I guess. So I'm saying if you're going to make the character androgynous, there's a way to do that. You can kind of like, I guess just kind of make it just ambiguous. Is this a man or a woman I'm looking at, or just kind of just combine those feminine and masculine traits into just sort of this like figure that represents both. I think you could pull that off. Um, you know, there are a lot of men and women where if you like just removed their clothing, you'd be like, huh, right? You'd just be like, huh. Um, it's just you're not sure what the gender is, and you could do that for a fictional character more easily than you could in real life. So I think that's something that's would be really cool to bring to a character. Um, and I don't know, maybe that's kind of where they're leaning for that character. But I mean, if they're gonna make her like if it's gonna be like you know, who's a good example? If it's gonna be like Selena Gomez, right, in a skull cap. I don't know. I don't know. All right, so there you have it. This was fun. A little trip down comic book ad campaigns, um, or should I say, just a feature of all the most memorable milk got milk campaigns that led to horrible box office results. um, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing about back covers, comic books. Even the modern books now to today have have ads, and um, this is something that will that's just part of the hobby in comic books now. In fact, I'm just going to grab a Marvel book, any Marvel book from the collection right now. Okay, we got The Punisher. This came out what? During the pandemic, was it? And I actually have to read this one. I heard so many good things about this. Here's the back cover. M&M's. Yes. M&M's. Right? Nothing says The Punisher. Nothing says Punisher fan like candy covered chocolate. Great front cover. Bad back cover. All right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, be sure to don't let the back cover dictate whether you buy our book or not. Okay, don't get caught up in that back cover buying. Okay, that's not staying true to the hobby. All right. Let's see here. So yeah, overall, I think if I am to pick my favorite, like if as a comic book fan, what would make a good ad or back cover? I think our preview covers, because it's like comic book cover art. You're getting two covers essentially, right? I think that's where I'm landing with back cover ads. So if it's DC promoting their next book or promoting a big book on the horizon, that's probably a great way to utilize that space. But then this is pretty cool too. If you're gonna call in Wesley Snipes, who looks like it literally looks like they brought him in. He was probably in town for his next movie project. And they said, "Hey, you know what? We got you ready to go. Just put the jacket on, put these shades on, just look mean." So you got stuff like that. Yeah, you've got like just nostalgic stuff like that. Lots of great stuff here. So video games, it's all this. It eventually all becomes nostalgia, right? Because you'll read a book, you'll look at the back of the ad and think peanut M&Ms, and then 20 years from now, you'll think, man, that was the worst back cover on a comic book ever. So thanks for hanging out, guys. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I mentioned it in my last video, but there's a lot going on, and I think we just need to kind of appreciate if you have the privilege of spending with your loved ones. Really hang on to that, right? I think I can't speak to anybody's relationships with their families, but I can speak to my own. I love my family, but we have our issues as well. But the holidays are really about a time to just be together, be present with one another, be kind to one another, and and just create those nice, warm, fuzzy memories. And so Thanksgiving was always that time in our household. We just feasted, you know, my sister and I would watch, the Thanksgiving Day specials and stuff on television. And it was just, kind of a special time that was different from the rhythm and humdrum of everyday kind of life. It was the holiday, and it was special. We had a special meal. So um, I just would hope all of you, you know, cherish that time with your family and cherish that time with your loved ones. Um, and if your family members have departed, and hopefully you're able to spend it with your loved ones or people you care about and care about you as well. Um, and cherish the memory of those that are no longer with you or with us. So, having said all that, happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, go Lions. The Hawks are playing tomorrow too, but uh, yeah, sports are definitely a big part of Thanksgiving. But yeah, everybody enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Happy Turkey Day.